Hey everyone, Alex here, and in this video I'm going to tell you everything I did to plan for our 10-day trip to Vietnam. I'm not going to go into the specifics of every destination, but instead I'm going to go over why we chose what we did and lessons I learned along the way. Since this was our first trip to Vietnam, we decided to hit the highlights. So we started in Hanoi, we did a Halong Bay cruise, and then we flew down to Hoi An, and then we flew to Ho Chi Minh City. If we were doing a full 2-week trip, we would have definitely added in a couple days in Sapa and then a couple of days in Ninh Bình. Okay, let's get started. The first thing to think about is when is the best time to visit Vietnam. A quick Google search will tell you that between November and April is the best time to visit. We visited at the very beginning of March, and I would pay attention to when the Lunar New Year is of the year that you're planning to go. In terms of weather, northern Vietnam was really comfortable, even a little bit chilly at night, and by the time I got to Ho Chi Minh City, it was already really hot outside. It is also worth noting that the air quality in northern Vietnam is noticeably worse than southern Vietnam. Hanoi, unfortunately, frequently tops the list of one of the world's most polluted cities, and in Halong Bay, the smog made everything look super hazy even though the sun was out. I know it kind of depends on the weather, but if you have respiratory issues, that is something that I would be mindful of. Once you have your flights and your dates figured out, it's time to apply for your visa. You can go through a third-party app to do this, but when I looked into it, that was so much more expensive than just going through the official website, which is only $25 a person. We have friends who very easily applied for a visa and it went through automatically. For some reason, ours was a massive headache. It took us weeks and weeks of trying all these different methods to get it to go through. We eventually had to change the billing address, I think, on our credit card, and it finally went through. Once it accepted everything, it only took 2 to 3 days for it to get emailed to us, so that was a pretty easy process. You definitely want to do it ahead of time, or else you might get held up at the airport and you might have to pay a lot of money. We have a friend who accidentally put the wrong dates on her visa, and she ended up having to pay $200 cash when she got to the airport to get it fixed. Once you have your visa all set, you're going to think about where to stay and then how you're going to get around. From our experience, all the hotels were phenomenal in Vietnam. One of our main priorities was choosing hotels that offered airport pickup and drop off, just so we didn't have to worry about it when we got there. Our first hotel in Hanoi also gave me the hookup of a $7 SIM card for 10 days in Vietnam, so that was really awesome to have Google Maps while I was there. Many of them also partner with tour companies that do day trips, so make sure to ask them ahead of time if there's anything specific they recommend as you're going through your planning stages. I'm going to tell you guys the hotels that I stayed at. If you're open to supporting the channel, I am going to put the affiliate booking links in the description. No pressure at all, but it makes me feel validated and more inspired to keep making content to help you guys plan. All right, so we flew into Hanoi and we knew we wanted to stay in the Old Quarter. We decided to stay at the Hanoi La Palm Premier Hotel and Spa, and it was absolutely wonderful. The breakfast was super good, the hotel staff were extremely friendly and helpful. The location was also in the middle of everything, but the street was still pretty quiet at nighttime. I would recommend booking a food tour for everywhere you go in Vietnam. There are so many of them on sites like Airbnb, and we thought each one was a great value for the money. From Hanoi, we did a cruise to Halong Bay. We bounced back and forth between doing this or going to the rice fields in Sapa, but eventually we chose to do the cruise this time instead. Booking a cruise was definitely one of the most stressful parts of this whole trip planning process, I would say. The first thing you have to decide is if you just want to do a day cruise, if you want to do a 1-night cruise, or if you want to do a 2-night cruise. Our friends who did a 1-night cruise told us that they wish they would have done 2, so we took her advice and we booked a 2-night cruise. Many of the cruises have very similar itineraries, and for us it came down to who can provide transportation from the Old Quarter in Hanoi, and which one's 1-star review can I live with. They're all gonna have spotty Wi-Fi, they're all going to be unable to avoid views of other boats, they're all going to have 10 p.m. noise curfew, and none of the drinks will be included in the all-inclusive package. But which 1-star review can I live with? Because a lot of them scared me. From the hundreds to choose from, we chose to go with Dora Cruise, and we would definitely use them again. The food was good, all the activities were good. We got a junior suite, which was definitely the most expensive room that we booked this entire trip. But when else are you gonna have views like that? Come on. In staying 2 nights, we got to see so much more of the beautiful area, and we felt like the cruise staff were super attentive to our needs. We didn't know this was going to happen, but we had a great guy named Davis assigned to us. He gave us a private tour of the boat, took our picture whenever we wanted. He was always our server, and he accompanied us specifically on our little excursion to the small village called Viet Hai. With this cruise, and I think with all other cruises, there's a 3% credit card fee. They give you the option to pay in cash when you get there. We chose to pay with a credit card just for the points. Whether or not you're paying with cash when you get there or not, make sure to take out cash before you leave for Halong Bay. We had plans to get some at the ferry terminal beforehand, but our bus did not take us to the terminal. It took us right to our transfer boat, and you will need cash. We ended up getting some from another American on the boat, just Venmoing her for it, but I would definitely make sure that you bring enough cash before you head to the bay from Hanoi. Now this is where we goofed up a little bit. So it can be a 3-hour drive from Halong Bay to Hanoi Airport. We originally booked a flight for like noon or something the day that the cruise was over, but that was just literally never going to happen. The cruise we went on didn't provide any direct rides to the airport, so we booked a private transfer to the Hanoi airport ourselves. I know there are definitely way cheaper ways of getting there, but we decided to pay for convenience on this one. We flew from Hanoi to Da Nang, and our hotel picked us up at the airport for a 45-minute drive to Hoi An. We spent 2 nights at the Emerald Hoi An Riverside Resort. When looking at the town, I wanted to stay on this little island. Anywhere in the old town I think would be lovely, but I had my mind set on this place from the start, I don't know why. They were super accommodating, provided a wonderful breakfast, and had free bike rentals. They also recommended some tailor shops for us because when you're in Hoi An, you are going to get some custom clothes made. This part requires a little bit of planning because while there are tons of different outfits and fabrics to choose from, it's good to get a rough idea of what you want and what you're willing to pay for it. I spent a lot of time on Pinterest before looking up linen clothes especially, and then Will also got 2 suits made. I emailed the tailor shop ahead of time to confirm they could do it in our time frame, and we were good to go from there. Our hotel recommended the Tuong tailor. They were super professional and used quality fabrics, and it was cheap considering we got 2 custom 3-piece suits, 2 ties, and a blazer for me. It was still one of the pricier ones on the street. I think there are dozens, if not hundreds, of tailor shops in this town, and they all want your business. If you don't plan for a specific tailor ahead of time, I think that's okay, but I would plan for what you want them to make and have pictures of it ready on your phone. There are some really good day trips you can take from Hoi An, and if we had time, we would have definitely booked some. When you're getting clothing made in such a short time period, it's kind of hard to go anywhere for too long because we had to go into fittings every few hours. From Hoi An, we flew to our final stop, which was Ho Chi Minh City. Our hotel did offer airport pickup, but we were brave and took a taxi. The internet told me to use a company called My Lin. Right after you get your luggage, you'll see lots of counters for different taxis on the right. You just go to the Mylan one and you'll be escorted directly to your taxi. They have set prices for the city, so you don't have to worry about overpaying. It was pretty hard to decide where to stay in Ho Chi Minh City because it is very big and sprawled out. We chose to stay at the Amanaki Boutique Hotel because it was near the river, across the street from the Saigon Sky Deck, and within walking distance to a bunch of popular spots. We booked 2 tours in advance for this leg of the journey. The first being a motorbike food tour. We booked this through Airbnb, and I would 1000% recommend this to anyone. Each person gets to be a rider on the back of a motorbike, and it's a really cool way to see the city, and we definitely ate at a bunch of places we would have definitely not found on our own. Our driver said that during the summertime, doing an evening tour is a little bit better because it's not as hot, but the traffic is worse. We did the 1 p.m. lunch tour, which was still pretty hot, but the traffic wasn't as bad. We also booked a trip to the Cuchi tunnels. It's about a 2-hour drive from the city, so it takes a good chunk of the day. We did a tour through Airbnb, and I think that it was a little bit janky. The bus was a little bit janky on the way there, but I think the tour itself and getting to experience the tunnels and that perspective of the Vietnam War from a Vietnamese person was a very good experience. While we were in the area, it was definitely something that we wanted to do. Okay, well, if you were keeping up, that was 3 nights in Hanoi, 2 nights in Halong Bay, 2 nights in Hoi An, and 4 nights in Ho Chi Minh. We definitely enjoyed our time at each of these places. They all felt very individually unique, and we're glad that we went to all of them. I'll link the itinerary videos for each location as I edit them. I really hope this helps you out a little bit when you're starting to plan for your trip to Vietnam. Happy planning! Bye!